Well, good evening, my friends. We are in my kitchen. I realize I have not done a money management video in quite some time. Whew. And this past week has been really crazy. I won't even say busy, like it has been busy, but it mainly has just been full. So, let's just jump right in. If you're here for the long haul. So, if you're new, because we have had a lot of new subscribers, we're almost at 5,000. I genuinely just can't believe that we are. I never expected to get anywhere near that number. I'm thankful for each and every one of you and you being here. I appreciate it, especially for those that have just been an encouragement. Well, one of the reasons I haven't done a money management video in quite some time is I lost my budget book. We can't find it anywhere. It even had up to a $5 reward as to who could find it. And nobody has found it. That says a lot. So that had all of the 2022 figures in it. It had all of the receipt tracking that I've been doing, all of that. Can't find it anywhere. So I had to start another one. Which means I'm pretty much starting from scratch. To say I was devastated is too kind of a word. All right. So with 2023 comes like not a reset, but kind of a reality check. So one of the things that I did in 2023 was I went through all of 2022's bills and I tallied all those numbers up. I had a total amount and then I divided it by 12 for this next year, and that basically gave me a month by month of what we should plan to pay in this upcoming year for certain bills, things like, you know, the internet, or the electric, the water, the gas, and whatnot. That just kind of gave me an average to go forward with, along with that, like property tax and things. Also in this new year, we had a couple of bills go up. Our insurance went up by almost $30 a month, which is kind of crazy and kind of, my kids' phones, their service, it went up almost $10. Now I did do kind of a overglance, and I'll overlay my budget so you see all the numbers, because that is how all of this started. I wanted to show how to live small and how to live minimally, and I have just laid it all out for you insofar as possible. I've tried the hardest I could to give you specific numbers and be as open and honest with you as I can. So if you're new, or if you don't get the full scope of that, or if I didn't convey that well enough, let me go into that now. So at the top of my budget, when we went into our tax return, we took my husband's W-2, and it, without exact numbers, because we don't have that right now, it's all being at the tax place and we pay somebody to do that. Hallelujah, praise Jehovah. I do not want to have to deal with that. His W-2 was roughly like $30,000 income. And I was going over everything. I was like, how did that happen? Is that, because that's like $2,500 a month. There was no way we had $2,500 a month, even in the summer when things were better. It doesn't add enough bulk to fit this amount. And then once we kind of took out like approximate taxes and all of that, suddenly the numbers added up a little more better. So the recorded income for my husband for the year 2022 is pre-tax. So after tax take home is less, more what I thought, which is approximately 24 to 26,000. Okay, my income minus babysitting. Babysitting was not recorded, or I didn't have a W-2 for those, so we couldn't really collect that. But this includes the 2 side jobs that give me W-2s. This includes Google. This also includes Amazon Vine. So Amazon Vine, I request items, I review the product, and the items that I request have a certain value connected to them. So I'm getting paid for the item, and that needs to be taxed. So minus babysitting, with YouTube, the 2 other jobs I have, and the Amazon, I brought in $1,000 for 2022. With babysitting, that was another $1,500 for the year. So that brought our total up that I earned last year between $2,500 and $2,800. Which brings our take-home pay closer to $27,000 if I got all that correct. Okay, on average last year, for what I was trying to keep track of, we were averaging $700 a month, average up to $900 a month, depending on certain things. Now, that was a lot of stuff that included groceries, clothing, and miscellaneous. So those kind of all fit into that category, and that is, again, per month. Sometimes it was less, and sometimes it was that 900 bracket. Now, miscellaneous in this case, I'm thinking of things like the trash bags, the soap, even medical, things like stuff that I can't think of the name of. Good gravy. Supplements and vitamins, and that's what I was trying to figure out, vitamins and things like that. All of that was bulked into that. Now, as we got, I would say, probably September, October, I just realized financially we just couldn't keep that pace going. This is something that I don't think I conveyed well enough. I was trying to, but I don't think I did. So tax return, for us, we do get an amount back. We get the allotted amount for a child, or per child, and we get, because we're under a certain bracket, we get a certain lump amount. So for us, that amount, and it's significant, it would bring our income up to $30,000. That gets put into savings, and pretty much throughout the year we are pulling from that, with the exception of summertime. And that basically gets us through to the next year of tax return. It's not what I like. I would prefer it to be different. That just gets us through to the next year. Again, I would love for it to be different, but that's just how it is. Recently I got a couple questions of, well, how do you do clothing? How do you do car maintenance? How do you do things like that? In this thing, again, I'll screenshot what I'm talking about here. I have like this little box thing, and that is, if I could come up with that amount per month, it's how I would cover those things. If the work that I had paid for that and covered that, that's what I would like to get. That's an extra $325 a month. At this point in time, I don't make that. Okay, battery changed. Apparently I was running low on battery. I really am. Mentally, physically, emotionally, and physically. Okay, so the extra, I would like to do that. Now you'll have noticed that the groceries is very low. So I think that's what I was kind of talking about earlier, where I was saying that we kind of figured out back in September, October, there just isn't enough. There isn't enough from both of us for groceries. And so we would just have to utilize the food pantries more. Yes, I know we could go on government assistance. I've made a video on that before. There is a lot more to that. I've just decided that in itself was enough there. It's something us personally have decided, and I don't think it's ever good or safe to go against your conscience, and it would be against our conscience to do that. So that's how it is as of now. The food pantries do not require anything from us like getting on government assistance. So yes, they may be subsidized by government funding, but it is not, I don't have to submit the paperwork to prove I am qualified like I do a food pantry. So there is the difference there. And at this point, we have not gone 1 week, 1 day hungry. So it's working out fine. The tax return covers the things to get us through the next year, like I just said. So things like the clothing, the car maintenance, the times that I have messed up and have spent money we just didn't have in the budget, and covered it that way. That's what we have pulled from savings or pulled from the tax return. It's not really used for anything like, okay, we're going to go to Disneyland, we're going to renovate the house, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Most of the time, we're not pulling from savings. Exceptions would be car repair. We also have, in addition to that, a savings set aside that, again, when the tax return comes, that is funded according to like the Dave Ramsey principle of your emergency savings. So if something drastic happens, you have that emergency fund. And then you have a little nest egg built up. And for us, that little nest egg is if a car is totaled and we have to buy a new car, which has happened before. Or we have an emergency and my husband's out of work for 3 or more weeks, which has happened before. So it's not just to get us through the next year, it's also that little buffer for when we have to dig into it and pull from it and help from it. So I think that's covered everything. If there's any questions, go ahead and leave them down below and I will try to address that. I do have here a sample. So when my husband gets his weekly paycheck, he writes down for me the amount, gross and net, and I just tally up all of those for the month. The one I just shared with you, this is a very basic average amount that he gets every week. Sometimes it's less. When he has to work a Saturday, it's more. What is 2 Saturdays ago, and instead of the 400 net, we were able to net about 5 to 515. I can't remember what exact number, but I'm pretty sure it was between that. So again, that extra day gives us a little extra more. Once a month, we're able to do that. As of now, I don't see that changing anytime before the summer. This is his last year for seminary school, and then he will graduate. And then this fall, we'll just see what the Lord leads, where that goes. Where did you get that? We just don't know where the Lord leads, and so could have a full paycheck by then. Just don't know. So, yeah, we'll continue on with that. So his job in and of itself is not changing. I don't babysit a kid anymore. And it was, so far the kids I've lost have been the higher paying ones. And so that income was lost in half. So my babysitting income has been lost in half. My side hustles have been lost in half, mainly because I gave up another job that I just wasn't finding did well for the work I was putting into it. So it wasn't making a whole lot of income, but it does kind of cut into the little bits that I'm putting aside and doing. So as of right now, I don't have a pretty good steady income that I can figure out, which is kind of unfortunate, but is the reality. I'm looking down and I'm seeing just a note here that I wanted to do, especially as you know, you get to look at this from the other angle. I have piano with kind of like a different color pen that says gift from my sis ? So this past month we just were really short, and I reached out to my sister and I said, could you cover piano this month? Again, we're nearing the time for tax return, and so it's kind of like so I was like, I don't feel comfortable with that. And she was more than happy to do so, and she was like, hey, I know at one point this was something that I was doing, and I would still like to continue to do that. Now she just had a baby. I'm not going to push it. I said that was really nice and sweet and wonderful of you. I'm not going to push it. That's just my personal thing. It's what am I trying to say? It's just my personality. It's really humbling to ask in the first place, especially from your younger sister. Just saying. And then it's another one to keep after it. So it was really helpful this month, very helpful. But I won't push that. Okay, so then if you notice something in what I shared with you and in all of this, there really isn't any wiggle room for errors. I really don't. And that was something that last year was just eye-opening, with keeping track of all those receipts and writing down all the purchases and everything like that. It's there was no margin for error. There was no margin for the extras. You had to stick to the budget. And if this is something that you've done your whole life, it means it's something that you're like, I've just done my whole life. If it's something that you're just not used to, it is a completely new learning curve. And again, that's kind of why this all opened up to begin with. Just showing the full journey, that things aren't always as simple as people make them. I get told all the time that I should go out and get a job. There's another cost here that people do not consider, and that cost is getting another job, being away from my kids 8+ hours a day, coming home exhausted from working, to throw together something for them to eat so that we can just get done and go to bed, because again, I'm exhausted and both of us are working. The cost is that relationship with my kids that I have built over these. I didn't even begin to cover the cost in me going back to work. Yes, the loss of this relationship that I built with my children would be a huge one. Homeschooling and basically all the things that I have built for our family, the cost is greater now than it would be in 10 years of investing into them and then having them old enough to where I can go to work. And that is just not a good investment at this time. Years. Now, definitely there comes a time when you have to assess, and it's like, okay, do we pay our bills and I go to work, and for me at this point, I do not feel called to stop what I'm doing. At this point, God has always shown us the way, and sometimes showing us the way means that we have to do the hard things. And for me, that's been this journey, this full journey of just learning not to mindlessly spend. I definitely have learned patterns of myself that have been humbling. When I'm stressed, I tend to spend more, but I don't necessarily spend just on me. I spend in trying to make life better for others. Yes. I also learned how fearful I can be in the way that I do life. And that doesn't really make sense, but for example, in fearful of the future, and yes, I know fear is not a Christian thing and we are told not to fear. Trust me, working on it. But I will say, okay, well, this is a possibility, therefore I need to be prepared in this way, or this way, or this way. And those ways do cost money. Now, there is a wise way to do things, and then there is basically the live in fear kind of thing. So trying to find the balance of those. I really think that this past year I did a whole lot of growth in the things that I purchased were under careful consideration, especially because I was trying to do the no spend year last year. And even though I kind of fell off as I was getting back on, like, there was a lot of consideration as to why I was purchasing certain things. Where I have missed the mark, again, goes back to wanting it to do it for others. So I would say that I have not done like nutritional food as snacks for my kids. I've kind of done the stuff that I know is easy and convenient and stuff that they like, because it makes their heart happy and that makes me happy. But again, that's not good nutritional food for them. So we kind of have all that balance. All right, I really don't want this to be a whole long video, but again, those are certain things that I learned this past year that's very helpful and kind of moving forward. I talked about it in another video, which was, thank you, which was like no spend fail and some of the things that you could do. One of those was have an accountability partner. That has just been such a valuable resource for me. Having somebody that I know is rooting for me and is not afraid to say the hard things to me. That friend is just, it's such a value thing, and that's something that I would strongly recommend if you can find somebody that's like that, that again is not afraid to tell you the hard things, which she knows. It's like sometimes I'm just like, but you know, over reflection, and once your panties are untwisted, you can realize that there's a lot of wisdom in there. But it does take a little bit of hearing those hard things in order to find the growth that you need. So that one was really helpful. Writing all of those receipts down, saving every single receipt that I could get. Anytime they were like, do you want a receipt? Yes. Instead of saying no. Yes, I want a receipt. And then writing that down. That was very eye-opening. I still have a stack. It's like this thick of receipts from 2022. And I wanted it down by half for 2023. So we'll see how that goes. Not really on track at this point, but that's okay. We'll keep going. All right, so now we're just gonna quickly switch over to the pantry challenge, the 3 Rivers Homestead Pantry Challenge. I'm actually gonna make that as a part 2 to this video. 1, this is really long, and 2, not everybody cares about that. But if you do, you can stay tuned and watch it tomorrow. So we'll end here, and I will see you in the next video.